Partying.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
I had issues logging in.
Welcome to Analyze Your Trade, episode number 13 for November 28th, 2017. My name is David Kosmeter. I'm the creator of Timing Research, and tonight we will be discussing your trade ideas. So over the last few days, about 90 people submitted up to 5 symbols, and I put together the list, which you should be seeing on your screen right now while I'm talking. That's the symbols we'll be talking about tonight. I developed this show with Dean of Follow Me Trades, but he's off this week as moderator, and I have Matt Buckley here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
Thanks, David. Welcome aboard, folks. Matthew Buckley with Top Gun Options. We have a great board of directors, 500-pound financial heads assembled here tonight. We're going to run maybe about an hour. We'll get as many symbols as we can. Mainly because I live on Las Olas down here in Fort Lauderdale, and it's Christmas on Las Olas, so there's fireworks down there and a lot of good stuff going on. So, and the Blackhawks are on. So I'm going to introduce everybody. We got Mike, Stefanie, and Anka. Anka's actually up the street a little bit, so I think she finally made it down here to Boca. So why don't we keep that order tonight, ladies and gent. Mike. So, Mike, why don't you kick it off with a little bit of a executive summary about what you do at Alpha Shark and a little bit about your background.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Yeah, so at Alpha Shark, I'm one of their moderators. I'm one of the ones that specializes in option flow and call out a lot of the option flow in the room that we pick up on there. I've been trading since just after the financial crash in 2008 and quickly learned that the best way to trade is with leverage. So it kind of got me into the options market real quick at that point. And what I like to do is I like to follow the institutional flow, look for where it's going, where the money's rotating into. Like today, very quickly picked up on the banks. They were started yesterday very little, and then today they just exploded into the banks. And it tells you kind of where to go play and where to stay away from. Like today, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, all those things were dead, and the option market kind of tells me that. So if you're interested, you can follow me over at Alpha Shark and sign up there and come on over and join us.
Yeah, a little bit of a rotation today out of techs into financials, and I think we're going to cover that here in a little bit. So good stuff. Welcome aboard, Mike and Stefanie. What are you doing at thestockwhisperer.com, and give us a little bit about your background.
Well, what are we doing? We're trading everything, pretty much. I started personally trading in 1994, started out at the biggest prop firm in New York, Schoenfeld Securities, and here I am 25 years later, and I run a live trading room called the Java Pit, where I share my screen all day long. I trade live every day, and I educate while I am trading, which is always the best way. I do audio meetings throughout the day. We trade stocks, we trade options, we trade futures, Forex, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin is really hot. In fact, it just made an all-time high if you guys are watching it right now. I also have an app for those people that can't be at their desk all day long or don't want to be at their desk all day long. I will call out all of the unusual trades that are going on. I specialize in dark pool trading. So it's an dark pool app. And we definitely saw some huge prints, as Mike said, in the bank stocks. We saw huge prints a few days ago on XLF, which is the financial ETF. So we definitely knew at $26.30. So we definitely knew that we were going to get a massive move in the financial stocks. Of course, it always happens a few days later. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do there.
Awesome. Perfect. And Anka, give us a little bit of an executive summary with Trade Out Loud and your background as well.
Sure. So my name is Anka Metcalf, and I have been a professional independent trader for about 14 years. Prior to becoming a professional independent trader, I have 10 plus years in investment banking in Europe and here in the US. I'm also the founder and CEO of TradeOutLoud.com, which is a trading education firm that is specialized in educating individuals how to day trade and swing trade the equities and the futures market. I'm also the designer of an institutional proprietary trading system that is based on price support resistance correlated with specific triggered times at specific price zones, taking into consideration chart synchronicity. I also developed a strict set of trading rules and a 10-point scoring system that actually enables myself and my traders to identify trades with ease. And we do day trade futures, and we swing trade stocks and ETFs.
Awesome. Welcome aboard, Anka. Looking forward to working with you tonight. As usual, folks, real quick, my name's Matthew Buckley. My call sign's Whiz. Flew the Hornet for the United States Navy for about 15 years. Graduated from Top Gun Options, hence my super large marketing budget and calling it Top Gun Options. And flew some combat sorties over Iraq. I applied everything I learned flying fighters over the skies of Iraq to trading. It just kind of makes sense when you think about it. Trading's a form of combat. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to get their ass kicked, and you probably don't want to be on that side of that trade. So the trading worked so well, and kind of some of my business stuff that I popped up on the radar of one of the largest vol equity options firms actually now in the world, called Peak 6 Investments, headquartered right there in the Chicago Board of Trade. Helped build a hedge fund there, helped build the retail firm Options House. Kind of felt like Valentine in Trading Places. And then also was the founder and CEO of the Options News Network, ONN.TV, which was kind of the CNBC for options. Since I know John and Pete and Jarian do a good job, but CNBC still kind of, still to this day pays lip service to options. So we kind of did that. And let's go ahead and get airborne. So David said he's sharing, the stocks that we're going to be talking about, and we'll keep the same order with Mike, you kicking off. I got to be honest with you, the first one, I can't even pronounce it, Mike. What the hell did we talk? Stefanie, you know how to pronounce it too. What was Juan Real Estate? So Mike, a bunch of the users asked about this, and we were talking about it beforehand. But give me your take. What's your take on this trade? And what do you think as far as flow?
Honestly, I think this is a Chinese REIT, and I never would have known a thing about it if I didn't pick up on some unusual option activity yesterday. And you can see I have it on my screen. They hit the June 750 calls, $50,000 worth of them, which is a ton of options because these things are cheap beyond belief. This is not my kind of stock. I generally never touch a stock that doesn't trade close to 1 million shares a day. And if it's under 10 bucks, I think you and I talked about this earlier, I just buy the equity if I want it. I wouldn't buy the options on it. That said, it's been basing down here for a while. If you like this name, it's breaking out of consolidation. 10 years ago, this thing was up in the teens. So maybe it has something, but it's going to trade wild and loose. So you have to give this thing just a lot of room. It's either a long-term hold. It's not a trade. It's a buy and hold to me. Yeah, correct. And folks, if you don't understand what trading flow means, let me use an analogy. Back in the day when it was open outcry, somebody, would walk in the pits, you'd see what jacket they were on, which represented their firm. And, if they said, hey, give me, 50,000 October Goldman Sachs, whatever's, you actually knew who that was. You said, okay, that's Steve, unless he's drunk right now. That's a big move. That's a big play in Goldman Sachs. He might know something. So back in the day, analyzing flow was a little easier. So Mike and his team, analyzing flow today is it takes a little bit more of detective work, right? Since most of it is electronic. We don't know who this buyer or these big block shares were. Sometimes, and Mike, you might be able to speak to this. I know, not to say the firm I was at before used to do this, but sometimes using strategery, there are big trades to hide other trades, or actually to maybe lure in some other people into an ambush. So, absolutely. I often see, like, as the stock's going higher, you see those little last-minute sweepers that they're trying to think everybody's still in it, but really they're just trying to get people to go higher so they can sell their stock.
Suckers, that's exactly right.
And like you said, I love the Nigerians, but how many times do they call out flow where, you see somebody replace a $40 million stock position with $3.5 million in options? They're like, that's bullish. I'm like, that's bearish. Somebody just took $40 million off the table and replaced it with options. That's bearish.
Well, and a lot of the time, if they're seeing massive flow downrange, they don't end up debriefing what happened with that flow. 6 months later, it could have absolutely been nothing. So agreed. Stefanie, what about this name? Are you seeing anything you like in here?
Yeah, well, I see that the dividend is going to be tomorrow. So yeah, a lot of times they'll go down into tomorrow, and then in the afternoon could be a great day trade. It's not something that I personally would trade because, again, I'm like Mike. I only trade stocks that trade 1 million shares every single day, and this one doesn't. It had maybe one wild day. But it did hit upper resistance at this 660 area. And so, technically we can easily trade it. It looks like it trades really well on technical lines. But again, not something I personally would touch, but I would watch that 650 level on the way up if you wanted to trade it tomorrow.
Good stuff. Anka, you follow this name, or you got any opinion on it as well?
I was very surprised to hear about this name. I've never traded it and I've never heard of it. And I agree with Mike and Stefanie. First of all, I don't trade stocks that are priced that have a volume under 1 million. I would rather have something that has very high volume. In terms of pattern, it does have room to continue higher. It's hitting some resistance into this area, still has room to continue into about $7 area. This is not necessarily something that, and I have to agree with Mike here, this is not something necessarily that I would look for, some sort of a trade, like a swing trade. This is kind of like a buy and hold, in my opinion, and it's overextended right now, so there is no way to leg into this thing. So you either wait for a pullback back into, I would say, $5 and about 65 cents, or you just let it go without you. So there are plenty of other stocks, maybe perhaps 4,000 other stocks that are setting up. And again, the price point, this is not something that interests me. And one other thing is that when I see a chart that has gaps on smaller time frames, 1 minute, 2 minute, even 5 minute, you can see the gaps between the candlesticks. This is not something that is day tradable. It's something that you're going to be stuck with. So I'm not into this kind of stuff.
Can I circle back real quick? And you hit on it, Anka. One of the reasons I don't touch stocks that trade under 1 million shares, they can be very hard to get out of once you get into them. There's just no liquidity. So just
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
let's move on.
The bid-ask spreads on this thing, you could drive a truck through, and if it's going in the wrong way, you're right. There's no liquidity, and like we talked about beforehand, folks. My rule of thumb, my SOP, standard operating procedure, Top Gun options, is any stock under $10. You don't trade options on it, you trade the stock. It is an option at that point. So I'm not big on this. I'm not really big into the REIT, so I'm gonna punt on this one, and we're gonna move on to Visa, just because it's under $10. It's Chinese, and you really don't have that much clarity into it. So let's go, Mike. Let's go over to Visa. What are you thinking about Visa in this? Technically, it's a financial, but it's also on its own. What are we thinking here?
So Visa, funny story today. They came screaming into it. So the new game, the options market they like to play now, is they like to front run the block buys with little sweepers. So if you look, you see I picked up on a couple of little sweepers into the December 114 calls before we got that first big block that came crashing into it of $869,000. So they love to do that now. And I tried buying it, and they only filled me on one out of the 20 plus options I was trying to get. I was like, you son of a bitch.
Yep.
And I let it sit there, and it just never came back. Got in at 110. It never came back down to my price, and I just let it go. And eventually, I sold that one call up 14 cents just to get out of it and babysit. Mm-hmm. But what I really like about this, it broke out today, and they kept coming after it, and they hit the January 100 calls later in the day, and then they came back and they hit the 114s 2 weeks out for 4,500 more of them at the end of the day. So it's breaking out. It's at the top of the Bollinger Band, so it may need a day to digest before it blasts off again. But it just broke out from consolidation period. I like this look. I think this one can go a little higher. I'd look for this thing to try to get up towards the 120 area before it craps out.
Agree with all that. And it's funny about the sweepers there. You only got one fill there. That's
they jacked the IV, and that was it. I couldn't get in.
Okay. Stefanie, and what's your take on Visa?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, 'tis the season for shopping. However, the dark pool's been buying it since November 20th. I spotted some buyers coming in at around 109.92 and 110.18. I drew a simple trend line on my daily chart. And yeah, there's definitely room to go up to about 114, possibly 115 would be high-end resistance. And then I would expect a little bit of a pullback. And then if we had a second test of 115 and we broke through, then I could see that 120 level that Mike was talking about. So that's my take.
Okay. Anka, do you follow Visa at all? What's your take on that?
I do actually. I have not been trading it in the last month or so. The actual buy was at the 110.50 level right here. So if you missed that level from a swing trade standpoint, then you missed this whole entire rally. It surpassed the first target area that was into resistance at 113. It did have a little juice in it though, and today it ran to 113.62. I ran some price projections on it, and I agree with Stefanie. It has a profit target of into the 120 level, so it can't run into that level. Maybe for day traders, you know, there might still be another push, and I'm looking at the 15-minute chart, probably a breakout to the 114 level, and then a pullback would be in order, possibly into the 112 level, and then we will see. Definitely, this is a great contender for the year-end window dressing, and possibly we may get a pullback right in time for that Santa rally and window dressing type of trading.
So Anka, I know a lot of my folks at TGO that are new, we throw some of these Wall Street terms around. Could you maybe for the folks that are new, what they hear that term on CNBC? What's window dressing?
Window dressing, yeah. At the end of the year, portfolio managers dress up their portfolios with the winners. They dump the losers and they buy the high-flying stocks, the high-flying winners for that main new high of the year, new high of the quarter that are super, super strong. And definitely Visa is into this category because at one point, I mean, if you take a look on the monthly chart, it's almost climactic. It's running climactic since this pullback at $77 back in last December. It has been having new highs every single month. So definitely portfolio managers will be looking at this stock, possibly dumping some other stocks that are losers and dressing up their portfolio with this Visa to show their clients that, hey, what a great name you have in your portfolio. Look at this stock. It's amazing.
It's so funny because it's so shallow. I mean, yeah, people are sitting there reading their end of quarter report like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's brilliant. He has all these winners in his portfolio. And then they look at their returns and go, why are we up, 2% this quarter?
Exactly. Why are we only 3%?
Yeah, it's a nice try at the window dressing. So it works until it doesn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my money and put it in Bitcoin.
Exactly. There you go. Uh-oh, you said the B word. Now we're in trouble. So my take on Visa, folks, it looks like the gift that keeps on giving here. Here's a 3-month chart, 6-month chart, year to date, 1 year. I mean, this thing, it just, it's not a financial firm in the sense of a Goldman Sachs, a JP Morgan. It's not your blue blood, waspy, Valentine type of firm. This is a Visa, MasterCard. American Express is a little old manish, my dad type of stock, but Visa, it just doesn't. With more and more people coming online and people popping out every day in China here, this is just I'm very bullish on Visa. I like all of these in this sector. I'm just not a big American Express guy. My overall strategic mindset, especially today, guys, I got to be honest with you, with my military background, I get my morning Department of Defense brief from some buddies who shall remain nameless. I talk to guys on the phone. I go on the road, have some beers with my buddies. Another rocket shot by Rocket Man, towards Japan. I think the VIX went down a little bit, and the market. I think the market might have pulled back for a second, and then that dip was bought. It's stunning to me. It's crazy. I mean, back in in old market pre-2008, it's insane that this is going on. And here's what I'm mumbling. Let me finish. Barring a no-kidding shooting war on the Korean Peninsula, I just don't see the market caring about anything like that. And the S&P up 25 and the Dow up 255 points today. It's just, you can't make this up, folks. So this is the gift that keeps on giving. I'm bullish on Visa, and I'm definitely long that. Now a good discussion. Let's go to Walmart. Mike, what's your take on the Arkansas giant there, Walmart?
I tell you, I might be the only person that likes this stock here. they are the only ones that are really online competing against Amazon, and they actually, from all reports, had a fabulous what do you call it, Black Friday and Cyber Monday and an online sales weekend. And what I love today, it showed some weakness and held the 8-day, and you can see they were buying calls on it today. They came and hit the December 102s, 2,000 of those, and they hit the next week's 95 calls, and then they hit 2019 100s. Amazon did a nice job consolidating before it took off. To me, this one's kind of just waiting here. I like it off the 8-day, and you can also try to trade it versus the gap. As long as it holds that gap, this thing, to me, remains in a position to be one of the few retailers that can actually do anything other than Amazon and maybe Costco. So that's kind of my quick take on that. By the way, what you agree with, I was on the microphone telling everybody to buy the dip, to hold, and not to sell when that rocket went off. I said, let it land, and as soon as it lands, the market's going to bounce.
As long as it doesn't land in Japan and kill 1 million people.
Or Guam, or, just something provocative. It doesn't matter.
And no, it doesn't. It's crazy. I mean, a lot of the pullbacks year to date, and I can show you on the chart of the S&P 500, as you all know, have been political. The Obamacare repeal fiasco, Part 1 failure, the Jim Comey memo, the Trump saying from his country club in New Jersey, I'm going to turn Korea. He went Pulp Fiction. He's like, I'm going to rain fire and fury upon North Korea. Pull back, bought. And then the other one was, after the riots down in, what was it, Charlottesville? Jim, or what's his name? Steve Mnuchin and Gary Cohn have to resign from the administration because Trump's a racist dip. Everything's been bought. Everything has been a buy the dip moment. So you're right. Same thing today. I was trading live, Mike, and I did the same thing. I'm like, hey man, just sit here and wait. As long as it doesn't kill a couple million people, buy the hell out of this thing. Stephanie, how are you feeling about Walmart?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the market, and we spotted the biggest dark pool level that we've seen in a very long time on the SPY. These are all late dark pool buy prints that were coming in all day long. And you can see them on my screen. They all start with 501,000 shares, all at 260.25. Now, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all right, the SPY was not trading at 260.25. It was trading at 262. And these prints kept coming in left and right to about 18 million. So rocket, no rocket. Somebody was buying yesterday and not reporting it until today. Okay, so the dark pool always tells us before that. But let's just go to Walmart. Walmart had massive dark pool activity this month, all at $96.62. Massive prints I've been spotting. And so I agree with Mike. I like Walmart. And yeah, they are the only competitor with Amazon that's making money in the retail sector. But I like $97.50. This is a key level. If we can break above that, I can see much higher levels for Walmart.
I was talking to myself there for a little bit. Anka, how do you feel about Bensonville, whatever, Arkansas company here?
I do love Walmart. I would love it if it would pull back at least to 95 and this gap up support would hold here and it would break out again to the upside. If not, I'm okay even if with a pullback, although these pullbacks are not really happening in the market that much. But preferably, I would like a pullback into the $93 level and pick it up from 93 and taking it higher to about $97 to $100 level. And I think overall it is a very powerful stock. It had great sales throughout this Black Friday, and I think it's really a great stock to swing trade, even to invest in. And I think it has a great long potential. I ran some projections on it, and funnily enough, it had a projection here on the daily chart of 100.07. It ran into 13, and now it corrected. It still has to reach, and it still needs to establish its own support level. So it's trying to find its support right now, but I do see it higher.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, Anka. I'm not a super big Walmart guy. It's So obviously, as everybody said, you know, incredible Black Friday and Cyber Monday, big gap, and then, you know, kind of moving sideways. This is kind of a slap in the face, you know. Not that I've been slapped in the face a lot, but you kind of stand there and go, all right, what the hell just happened, and, you know, what do we do next? But if you know, we back this thing out. Obviously, past performance, no indication of future results. But if you look at it's kind of on a gentle. You know, this is a 777 out of Miami in the summer, just kind of a gentle climb schedule, and then kind of we get an F-18 Hornet here. If I were to go into this space, well, I am in this space. The only you got to go with the Death Star, man, and it's Amazon. You know, similar type of chart, but Amazon will eat everything. It's the Death Star, Jeff Bezos, you know, to the moon, Alice, and beyond. If I were to put some money to work, obviously I'm an options guy. You know, I think if we all took a collection and put money in the collection plate, we could do maybe one contract of a long call diagonal or synthetic stock with a $1,200 stock. But we've been trading a hell of a lot of bull-pull spreads on Amazon here. I just, you know, the Walmart experience. You know, I myself, I'm a little bit more of a Target guy or a super Target. I like an Amazon better than a Walmart. I'm a little bit more bullish on everything that they can do. I mean, unfortunately, where was this? Let me find this. In the Mirror the other day, the British paper, where is this thing? You know, Amazon, look at this. Undercover at Amazon, exhausted humans are inefficient and they're being replaced by robots. I mean, these videos that they play are just are devastating. You know, I like to tell people I wear 2 suits at Top Gun Options. I wear my flight suit. I'll tell you what I'm thinking as an American, and then I'll put on my Gordon Gekko, you know, $6,000 Armani and tell you exactly how I feel as a portfolio manager. I think this is phenomenal. Wearing my flight suit, I think this is awful. These people work 10-hour shifts. They're allowed, you know, they have to deal with a package every 30 seconds. They're not even allowed, you know, they're barely allowed bathroom breaks. As Gordon Gekko, I think that's phenomenal. As an American in a flight suit, as a former fighter pilot, I think it's pure evil and it's awful. But then you also, you know, you got Apple, you know, using 10-year-olds in China to build iPhones. So I'm not a huge Walmart guy. If I was to go into the sector, I would go with Amazon. It just seems to me to be the Death Star.
Did we lose you?
Well, MasterCard.
Hey, Matt, you're muted.
Matt is
I'm sorry, I cut myself off there, Mike. I was closing out my my rambling on Amazon. Let's stay in that same Visa sector, and let's go with MasterCard.
I was like, okay, well, that was a quick show.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't say much more than I said on Visa. So the call buying is not the same that it was today on MasterCard on Visa. You can see there was a couple of sweeps that were smaller. This thing's run a little bit more already. I'd be a heck of a lot more cautious getting into this year, and I think, like they were saying on Visa, I'd rather see a pullback here before I entered it. For me, it's already broken above this top, and it's a little extended off the 8-day. So I look for some type of a little bit of a pull-in before I try to buy this. It could go a little higher, though. I think it's another, like everybody said, this is another option for window dressing. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I'll turn it over to Stefanie.
all right. So yeah, I agree. There's resistance at 155. So I don't like to buy when we're so close to a major resistance level. So I mean, this is where I would definitely be getting ready to take profits on it. So again, and there's not much dark pool activity on it, so I really have no feelings on the stock. So I'll pass it on.
sounds like we're all right, Anka. I'm passing the buck to you. What do you got?
Well, this is nothing else than another overextended stock. And like Mike mentioned, you know, this is another great candidate. And it's so easy to pick window dressing stocks this year because we have a lot of stocks that are running to new all-time highs. But most definitely, if you're looking at a swing trade in this stock, the ship has sailed. You have to wait for a pullback into the 150 level. Does it have room to continue higher? Yes, it does have room to continue higher. However, as a swing trade, you have to be patient and wait for another pullback in order to leg into this trade. It's getting overextended. I mean, take a look at the monthly chart. It's insane. It's going parabolic. It's climactic. You have to wait for some sort of a pullback. And I think that there are other stocks there that you can actually leg in. Actually, there was a little opportunity here for a little mini swing with this bull sandwich at this point on the daily chart. But right now, there's nothing to say about it. We just have to wait for a pullback, be very patient, and just look for trades and other places, because these ones are very, very extended to the upside.
Anka, I'm going to copy and paste everything you just said and save us time. That was very good analysis and couldn't agree more. So everything she just said. All right, let's go the tech route. Mike, what's your take on Intel?
So this is a monthly chart, 20-year monthly chart on Intel I'm putting up here. And you can see after a massive dip and long consolidation, this thing just woke up in the last year and is really starting to get back to that all-time high area, which would put it up around the 50 area. So when we go over to a daily chart here, it's had this huge move this year, right? We have this big pro gap that it never came even close to touching at this point. And now we've come off the top from 47, and you know, the 8-day became resistance. When we lost that gold line, you notice how every time we came up to it, it sold off. It couldn't close over the 8-day at this point once it broke it. And now we're trying to hold the 21-day. So for me, this is, I think, you know, we're going to stick on this topic. This is another candidate for window dressing. It's one of the better looking of the semis right now that is not as big as an NVIDIA, where you have to play with as much money on the table. If it can hold the 21-day here, I think this has a shot to shoot back up and retest that 47 area by the end of the year.
Okay.
Long term, there's been a ton of call buying on it into January's, Feb's, March, later next year. Nothing really short term, though.
Okay. Steph?
Hey, Stefanie, you might have to unmute yourself. Your mic was picking up noise while other people were talking.
Okay, there we go. Is that better?
Yep, we got you.
All right, awesome. Okay, so I agree. I agree with Mike. I love that 8 exponential moving average. That is definitely my favorite moving average in the entire world when it comes to momentum. And yeah, we've definitely been trailing below it. We spotted some really, really heavy dark pool action last week around $45.13. And so I have been bearish on this because we've been below it. However, today we spotted some very large prints at $44.50 right in the middle of the day. You can see these million share prints. And we took a bounce there. So here's my levels on Intel. I'm going to be bearish if we break close below 44.50. Going to be very bullish if we close above $45.25. So those are my key levels for Intel.
Okay, Anka, do you follow Intel at all?
I do, and I actually love it. It is resting now at this 23.6% fib level, and it found support right here. And I have to agree with Stefanie, and I think that if it breaks below $44, actually $44.20, this area right here that is marked, we actually had a pre-market low here last Monday. And if we break that low to the downside, then we may correct some more. We may come in back into this 50 MA at about $42. But if we hold this area and if we trigger above $44, I would say $45 for me would be confirmation enough to continue back to the upside into this prior high of 47.24, and that would be a very good risk to reward, because your entry would be 45, your risk, your stop would be 44.20 area, and then you would have a really nice reward all the way into the 47 and change. It may still run higher. I see a profit target on it close to $50.
Okay, yeah. Let me share my screen here. So, Mike, I agree with what everybody just said. I'm not a big Intel guy. I get the semis. I get all that good stuff. I got to be honest with you. I'm a FANG guy. Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. Not a Netflix guy, to be honest with you. But Intel, good looking chart. Big gap on earnings and wow, this might be for real, and then pulling back. In the race of the semis, NVIDIA, even Microsoft, Intel to me is kind of old, stodgy money. I mean, I'm trading Intel sitting in a squadron in Marine Corps Air Station El Toro type of stock. It just doesn't. you know, an Amazon or an Apple could sneeze and buy an Intel. So, you know, there's what is that? That's a 2-year chart. This is kind of, it's been like Fredo from The Godfather. You're dead to me. So it's kind of dead money to me. Nice, like Mike said, nice run of late. It's come alive, but you know, now it's still kind of running sideways here. So I'm not a big Intel guy. So I'm more or less going to punt on this. If you want to get into this,
back, man, Cisco running. Or gonna make the old tech.
Yeah, I mean, old tech.
Look at Microsoft.
Yeah, well, Costco's still a little. You know, you look at a. You know, I guess Facebook. These are the type of charts that excite me. You know, a Facebook. Obviously, I covered Amazon, Apple rolling over a little of late, even though it's off topic. You know, a little bit of give back here. But these charts. That's a little bit more get me out of bed in the morning than an Intel. I mean, I get it, but look at Microsoft, folks. You airdrop yourself into the middle of Chad in northern Africa, and you find somebody with a computer. It's got Windows on it. The thing is, you know, in '95, Microsoft should rule the world, and it's a stodgy, old, boring stock, and you got an Amazon at $1,200. That's all I'm getting at. But let's go. Now we're starting to get a little bit more exciting. How about Las Vegas Sands, Mike? What are you thinking about that?
Man, the casinos are always rough. I'm not the great casino trader. Some people trade these things really well. I don't trade them as well as other people do, but LVS is a nice setup here, but you got to be careful. It's trying to break out here, right? It's had this beautiful move today, woke up out of nowhere. Again, I love the 8-day moving average. Somebody I know Stefanie loves it too. Look how it's been holding the 8-day, and every pullback to the 8-day over the last 2.5 weeks has been buyable. And now it's here at this, you know, high for the year. It's sitting here right at it. Hard to buy it here. Now, if it pulled back a little bit and the 8-day came up, I'd probably take a shot at it for a breakout. But it's run a lot this year. And you know, a lot of times these breakouts just haven't worked this year. They like to run them up to them and then say, fooled you, pull back. So for me, this one, I'm not touching. There's been no real call buying into this one of note. So that's another thing to me. Usually when they want a name like LVS, they come after it. You know, they have been buying Win, and they, you know, hasn't been working on that. And so, you know, I haven't seen a lot into LVS or MGM lately. So I'm going to pass on this one. This is not my cup of tea right now.
I am all about the sin stocks, baby. I can't wait to go. But Stefanie, what's your Las Vegas Sands?
Well, first of all, I agree with you, Matt, when you talk about the old style stocks, Intel, Microsoft, Cisco. I used to love those stocks. I used to trade them every day back in the 90s, and I hate them now. I don't. Most of them are on my do not trade.
You're not that old. Stop it. Come on now.
Yes, I am. So I'm moving to Vegas, by the way. So it's hard for me to be objective with this stock. I love Vegas.
Get out of here.
I am, because no taxes, right? We're done at 1 o'clock. Really nice weather, and you're so close on the West Coast.
Good point.
Psyched. So, but this stock, let's just talk about the stock. You can see the weekly chart. We are hitting big resistance here, as you guys said. We did have a lot of dark pool activity recently, around $67.50. That's the key level. So, I mean, I would look to be very bearish on this if she broke below 67.50. That's when I would go short on it. That's a key level. But I just can't go long up here. It's not my style either.
Okay, I agree. Anka, how are you feeling about the sin stock Las Vegas Sands?
Okay, so I kind of like it here. In fact, I took it long today at 68, and I do have a very tight stop. I am actually playing the 1 hour chart, and I was surprised. It was on my watch list, and I had set an alert on it, and I picked it up at $68. Right now, trading at 68.4. It is a very tight short-term swing that I have on, and my profit target is into $69 and 69 and change. 69.40 is actually my last target if it goes there. So yeah, I'm gonna look to kind of like lock in a break-even price as soon as it trades over 50, 68.50.
Okay, sounds good, folks. I very bullish on the sin stocks. Out of the sector, though, I got to be honest with you, I'm more of a MGM Grand guy. And let me go Gordon Gekko a little bit. Obviously, everybody knows about the tragedy that happened at the Mandalay Bay. So we got an implosion there. We sold about 3 bear call spreads in a row right here and did some very nice work. And then right around here, we put on a long call diagonal out to Jan of 2020. Why did we do that? The reason we did like 3, it was about every other week bear call spreads was because after the Las Vegas shooting, it appeared that news reports were showing kind of TSA-like security going into Vegas hotels. Not speaking from experience, obviously, at all, but if they were going to start checking every bag of people checking into a Las Vegas hotel, Las Vegas would cease to exist, period. So I knew that was going to be a buying opportunity. So, when you compare a Las Vegas, let me go to Las Vegas Sands, a little bit of a better looking chart of late, but I like buying things. I use the Captain Kirk rule of investing. I like to boldly go where people aren't going now. I like to say that your Carl Icahns, your Ken Griffins from Citadel, your Warren Buffetts, they didn't, no offense, they didn't get rich following you. They didn't get rich following me. They kind of do that Captain Kirk. Let's boldly go where something, where people aren't going right now. So yeah, there's litigation hanging out there, and MGM is on the hook. That's what insurance companies are for, folks. And remember, casinos don't look the way they do because they give away money. They're not charities. So out of the two, I'm more of an MGM guy than a Las Vegas Sands, because it did get beaten down as a result of something unfortunate. But then again, folks, wearing a flight suit, I'll tell you, it's unfortunate, and it's just an absolute national tragedy. Becoming Gordon Gekko, I'll buy the shit out of the stock down here and be bullish on it. So there you go. I'm an MGM guy over Las Vegas Sands. Let's go to we talked about this a little while ago, Mike and Steph. Bank of America.
Bank of America, what a day. I mean, if you were long this coming in today, like I was, you're doing the happy dance all day long. If you're somebody who follows option flow today, you could not keep up with the flow that was pouring in this name all the way into the close. If you look on the left side, I mean, and this doesn't even, Twitter does a bad job of capturing it off. I must have had 30 or 40 posts with flow today on Bank of America. Everywhere from 2019 January calls to weeklies to monthlies to January 28th, February calls, right up into the close. They were still coming in and hitting this all the way up into the end of the day, right into the close. $200,000 into the January 27th, right couple minutes before the market close today. So I bought that last big candle we had about 2 weeks ago. That's when I got long with a bunch of common early in that day off the 50-day. It likes to play on the 50-day and hold it. And I've been sitting in it, just letting it kind of drift down ever since then. And I knew I had a feeling that these were going to go. If we got tax reform in, we have repeal of Dodd-Frank that's included in the Senate's version of tax reform, right? There's some of that's in there that the banks could really run. And now it's coming back to its 52-week high right up here around this 28 area. And if you look at the long-term monthly chart, this one has a ways to go. And that's why they're buying so many calls on this, because they think this one can start to play catch up, where JP Morgan's at all-time highs. Morgan Stanley's not far behind. Goldman Sachs hit an all-time high this year and has pulled back and doesn't look as good. And Matt, you and I talked about that. You're not a big fan of it. And, we kind of both think if this is kind of its moment of truth for this year. Either it holds here and continues or it falls. Bank's the one name they've been coming after over and over and over again. I would not try to buy it here after that move. Banks do not like being this far off the 8-day. Generally, they need a little consolidation. So maybe tomorrow morning it moves up and then it comes in a little bit. But as long as it holds the top half of this candle and then the 8-day catches up, I would look to go long with this. If we get tax reform, I think the banks are set to explode a lot higher into the end of the year.
I think you're right, Mike. It really is kind of a precipice moment for the financials, and the whole, Donald Trump today waiting for Nancy and Chuck to show up, and the debt ceiling, and we have alligators that are farther away from the boat, but the closest alligator will be that tax. So I think it is kind of on the precipice. That's a good analysis. If it grabs that, it's bullish. If it don't, look out below. Stefanie, what do you think about BAC? And you might be on mute still, Steph.
I think you keep muting me over there. All right, so I'm a Citi girl. I've been trading Citibank. But I love Bank of America as well to trade. We always get a really nice opening print that is amazing to trade off of. So you can see today, this morning's opening print was 26.60, and went straight up from the open today. So even if you just bought it, put your stop underneath, you would not have been stopped out. But look at the closing print, 7.6 million. 27.64, and then another 1.5 million, 27.64, another 1.7 million. This is massive end of the day institutional. I'm going to say selling. I'm going to guess that they bought during the day and they can't hold overnight, so they sold at the close. And I do agree with Mike that, you know, the further away we get from this 8 EMA, it's like you're chasing. I love to buy after a pullback to it and then moving on up again. So again, if you're not in it, I definitely wouldn't jump in up here. I would wait for a pullback and watch that opening print in the morning. That is like the best print to trade off of.
Stephanie, what's your take on either tax reform passing or not passing?
I don't really care if it passes or doesn't pass, honestly, as far as when it comes to trading, because I see the prints first. I'll see the big boys will start selling before the news comes out. Somebody always knows and trades off that. So I keep my television on mute. I really don't care what's going on in the world. I just read the tape. I am a tape reader, and I will always see it. And before that attack in Las Vegas, by the way, I spotted massive prints on Caesar's Palace 2 days before. Just let you know. Yeah. And it's not the first time I've seen big prints before a terror attack. So again, that's all I do is watch the tape. And because you know what? It can come out, it could be bad, but the market could go up, right? Who cares? Like, you know, North Korea shot a missile today. It could have killed anybody, and the market didn't care. So again, just watch and do what the market does. That's my best advice.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, you know, the Bin Laden trade was talked about years ago. I mean, what was it a couple of years ago when 3G Capital and Warren Buffett bought Heinz ketchup. I mean, Mike, you probably know this. You know, Heinz ketchup, I think their options activity was maybe a call every leap year. There was just zero options activity. And like 2 days before the deal was announced, 80,000 calls were bought. Hello, you know, SEC gets involved, FBI gets involved. They trace it to a Goldman Sachs account in Switzerland. Goldman Sachs, of course, does the standard. We don't know who the hell this was. Short story long, turns out it was the 12th floor of the People's Liberation Army. These guys are hacked into everybody's emails, Goldman Sachs, all these investment banks. So the North Korea and China are actually trading off of inside information. So, Steph, you're right. I mean, the quote-unquote dark pools, which are called dark pools for a reason, hold a lot of secrets, so to speak. Anka, how are you on this stuff right here?
I love Bank of America and actually bought it today and also got some XLF today. And I also posted some of these tweets yesterday as I was identifying. I was watching these trades for a very long time, and I love this pullback to this 50 MA here in XLF. So XLF I did pick up. And also in regards to Bank of America, got some Bank of America here, and I got it at this breakout here at 26.85. This was my entry, and I am going to hold it. I think it has room to move into the $28 area. I love the fact that the weekly, you know, we just had a quick tag on the 200 MA, and I think it's ready to go higher. Like Mike said, we may see the banks continuing higher into the end of the year. Banks and broker dealers always usually run higher into the year end, and they're also great picks for window dressing. So I'm going to pay very close attention to Bank of America. It has a great price. It's tradable. It's really, really nice.
I like, here, let me pull this up. I'm not super Bank of America guy. I kind of have I call them, you know, Olympic financials. I would say JP Morgan is my gold medalist. Morgan Stanley is the bronze, and I'd say Bank of America is my bronze medalist, or silver, yeah, gold, silver, bronze. Goldman Sachs, believe it or not, for about 3 to 5 years, for the past 3 to 5 years, has been my gold medal. And then after it missed earnings 2 quarters in a row, it did all right last time. But when Blank Fiend got his Twitter account, like what was it, 6 months ago, and he's trolling Trump on Twitter a couple times a day, I'm like, dude, why don't you focus more on your FIC, your fixed income, currency, and commodity trading division, sucking and not making earnings, and trolling Trump? So like I said, I'm not a super Bank of America guy. I prefer, even though I think Jamie Dimon is a little, I don't know, he's a little full of himself and he's running for president. That's a little better looking chart than Bank of America. And then Morgan Stanley, another good run ship. But Mike, as you and I were talking about before the show here, Goldman Sachs, I'm bearish on. So out of this sector, this is that triple bottom we were kind of talking about. It did bounce off this bottom right here, to be honest with you. So there's 1, 2, and if it had stayed below right here, I'd be worried. But I got to be honest with you, this might be a dead cat bounce. So avoiding the question, because I'm not a big Bank of America guy, I'd go J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, or Bank of America as my miscongeniality, or Mr. Congeniality. Okay, so we covered that. We covered Bank of America. How about Johnson & Johnson, Mike?
Love me some JP Morgan. Took profits in that today. Have a little bit left, but been traded out of my Jan 100s today for the most part on that pop. If you like this name, you have a beautiful technical breakout here, right? We had a downtrend clearly established, and it broke through it. And it broke through it on decent volume, above average volume on it. It is day 3, and I do not like to be buying names up 3 days in a row. It's kind of one of my little rules. When something's had day 3, I'm looking to sell, not to buy it. So you got to be a little careful if that is at the top of the Bollinger Band. It's also coming to that 141 area, so it can go a little bit higher here, but it definitely came into some resistance in this area. I think I would leave it a day or two to consolidate, but I do think this can continue into the end of the year back to 143. This was a nice candle. This was a wake-up candle. Usually you get an engulfing candle like this, we see some type of follow-through in the coming sessions. So I like J&J. It's not a name I trade often. No flow into it in the last couple of days, but we've seen quite a bit in the past.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big J&J guy either. Steph, do you trade this?
No, I actually don't trade Johnson & Johnson. I try to stay away from drugs of all different kinds.
Good advice.
And no, honestly, I mean, anything could happen with these guys. It is a breakout. Technically, there's nice volume that came in today, and we did have some buying at 138 level. So I would watch 140. That's really key. If it can't hold and stay above that, then she's going to go down. But again, it does look great technically. I agree.
Yeah, good technical trade. I'm just not strategically hip on J&J or that sector. I'd agree with you. I mean, we're one government tweet or something away from big moves in this type of sector. Anka, do you trade J&J?
I actually did trade J&J today, and I have it as a swing trade. I bought it at 139. I'm still holding it, and I have a profit target on it of 141, and then 140, and then I'm pretty much going to be done with it.
Wow. Well, that is a very concise and very good summary. Okay, Mike, ALXN. I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, I don't trade, and I need to find out what it is. So it's a pharmaceutical. Holy shnikes, look at that chart. Mike, did you see any flow? Obviously bearish flow in this stock?
I'm seeing nothing. Alexion it's a biotech, and obviously the whole sector, like you just alluded to it. I mean, you're one presidential tweet away from dumping the whole sector even more. I am seeing signs of call buying coming into the sector, into the XBI 2 days in a row now. I'm seeing names like Bib, Biogen picking up some call buying. This is just an ugly chart. I don't follow this name closely, so I know obviously they've had some bad news, otherwise it wouldn't be beaten down this bad. It can't catch the 8-day. I mean, if you look at it, broke the 8-day, what, a month ago? And every time it hits it, it breaks back below it here. Until it can get above the 8-day, I have no interest in. That is, it's oversold, it's extended. Maybe maybe a scalp to the long side, if it gets above the 8-day to try to see if it can catch to the 21-day at 114 as it's coming down. But honestly, I would keep biotech for me right now is mostly on my avoid list until it wakes up, which could be tomorrow, to be honest with you. I mean, they could rotate in here. I'm watching for that. But if I'm going to rotate into biotech, I'm looking at the names that are stronger. I'm going to look at names like SRTP and Biogen and Celgene and some of these other names, not a name like this.
No, in full disclosure, at Peak 6, this was one of our red symbols. You were prohibited from trading biotechs. It literally, what the hell was it? Immunogen or whatever it was. Famous last words. One of our traders said, you weren't allowed to trade biotechs. Somehow he got around the technology. This whatever drug, I forget the name of it. It had passed phase 1, 2, and 3 of some FDA approval process. It's a shoo-in to pass phase 4. It didn't that day, and the stock went down 80% in the blink of an eye. And the guy lost $4 million in a single trade. And that obviously was his last day. I don't trade biotechs. You're literally, it's a lottery ticket, folks. And I just don't. I'm going to punt on this.
They're better day trades.
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
to know when there's going to be news or data coming out. It's not just earnings. You have to be aware of data.
Yeah, and it's really pisses me off is that Congress and their staff is excluded from. Does everybody know this? This will make you hate your government even more. Congress and their staff are excluded from insider trading laws, by the way. So they could know the FDA is about to disprove or approve something and trade the hell out of it. So enjoy that little gem of government. Steph, do you trade bios at all, specifically this one?
I don't do any drugs. I told you. My best.
I meant to go to Anka, but go ahead. You can finish.
No, I've seen really, like you said, I've seen really amazing traders get completely wiped out. Always a biotech stock, and even day trading, they get halted. But I went over the prints just to see where the levels were, because I know some of you are going to still trade it anyway. And so there was selling at 109.70, and it looked like possibly some buying today at 108.08. That's where I spotted the big blocks. But Anka, take it over.
Thanks, Stefanie. I don't like biotech stocks. I don't trade them. And I don't like the pattern on it either. I think it's going close to climactic on the weekly to the downside. It's a lottery play, more like a reversal, sharp reversal. I think that just by eyeballing it, it's more than 75% down on the weekly chart. And like Mike mentioned, there might be a tweet that can take this stock higher or lower. I don't trade these biotech stocks at all. The volatility is insane. And although it has good volume in it, I just don't want to have any surprises. I like to sleep at night, so I don't want to worry in these types of trades. So to me, this doesn't have any kind of pattern right now. It's still in progress. This sell is still in progress right now. It doesn't it doesn't have a sign of bottoming or anything else. So not for me.
Yeah, it's so folks. It sounds like there's 4 professional traders here who avoid biotechs like the plague. That should be a hint. If we do this for a living, and you kind of do this as a retail trader, that should kind of be a wake up call. And at a multi-billion-dollar vol arb firm, you're prohibited from trading those, and we re-prohibited it after that guy placed that stupid trade. So biotechs, folks, it's just it literally is your one FDA announcement away from something, unless you got inside information, which for us animal farm people, because we're all equal, it's illegal. But if you work in Congress and inside information, you can trade it. But all right, folks, I'll tell you what, that was a good round. We got through most of the symbols. We're going to finish right on time, on target. So Mike, do me a favor and let everybody know how we can get a hold of you and what you guys do over at AlphaShark.
First of all, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure with all of you tonight. So you want to get a hold of me, you can hit me on Twitter at OptionsMike, or you can send me an email at AlphaShark at mike@alphashark.com. What I do there is I call the option flow. I have a service built around that. We also have a chat room there, and I moderate that chat room for about an hour and a half a day. And I'll post things throughout the day, but mostly the action takes place on my private Twitter feed. So if that's something you're interested in, hit me up via email, and I'll send you the link for that and get you all signed up. And love to have you guys on board, and thanks for having me back on, guys. It's been great.
You bet, Mike. We'll see you next time. Steph, how about what you do at the Stock Whisperer? And you might be on mute again.
Sorry about that. So I wake up at 6 o'clock every morning. Very excited to trade. I run a live trading room called the Java Pit. You can go to my website, www.thestockwhisperer.com, and come join me. You can do a trial for 30 days. Check it out, see if you like it. It's only $9.95 for that 30-day trial. And we do trade stocks, options, futures, Forex, and Bitcoin. We trade Bitcoin, Ethereum. I trade Ripple. Anything that's moving has really good volume. But the most important thing is that we focus on the dark pool. And again, I am there all day long. Some people have rooms and they have other people running it. I'm there all day long. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. And if you can't be in the room, again, I have a dark pool app where I'll send push notifications right to your phone when big things are happening. And thank you for having me on the show, by the way. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, Stephanie, we had a question in the live chat, which was, how do you tell if the dark pool is buying? You want to talk about that real quick for a second?
Well, if you come into my trading room, I'll teach you in real time how to trade off these prints. But, you know, we watch them. So we've seen when they were buying and then we see when they're selling. Again, if we don't know what they are, we don't jump into the trade. So, you know, it's really important to wait and to be sure. And again, you know, look, not every trade's going to work out, you guys. The most important part, we didn't really touch on the psychology part of trading, is how do you handle a trade that doesn't work out, right? That's so key. Do you expect to get into a trade that isn't going to work out? And if you're not expecting it, it's very hard to get out. And so that's why most traders lose money in the market, is because they're just not expecting trades not to work out. But I have a very high success rate. I do a video every morning called the Whisper of the Day, doing about 4.5 years. I have a 90% success rate on the video. You can see this morning's, we were bullish on UGAS, natural gas. We were bearish on NVIDIA after spotting a late sell print, 215.25, and bullish on MPC. Those are my above 62. So I give you stocks, levels. I show you where the dark pool is trading. And again, come join me in the room. The best way to learn is by watching my screen and having me walk through the trades with you. So thanks again.
So I learned a couple things. Ripple, I think I used to drink in college. And I also learned that there's a 6 a.m. in the morning. I always thought there was just a 6 p.m. My God, Steph, you are dedicated. Very well done. Anka, how about Trade Out Loud, man, down here in beautiful South Florida?
Okay, first of all, I would love to be like Stefanie and try to wake up earlier to take advantage of this beautiful sun down here. Stefanie, maybe you could give me your recipe for waking up at 6 a.m. I'm currently a 7 a.m. girl. So.
Oh boy. I'm moving to Vegas. I'll be waking up at 4 a.m. So this is like a walk in the park right now.
I think I'll be getting into Vegas at 4 a.m., Steph.
Yeah.
So I might need to crash at your place. I'll give you a call.
All right.
Okay, so at Trade Out Loud, we have a signal service for futures, for day trading and swing trading futures. We have started the signal service in January of 2017, and we have tracked all our trades. They have timestamps when they were called and everything. We do offer a pre-market game plan with detailed analysis and the key levels for indices and 2 commodities that we trade on a daily basis. We trade very few trades, 1 to 3 trades a day. Rarely had we taken about 4 or 5 trades a day, and some trades in some days, for instance, we don't trade at all. We offer precise entry, stop targets, and management for the life of the trade. The service is from 9:30 a.m. to 11 Eastern time, but we actually start a little bit earlier at 8 o'clock, and we start posting the major events of the day and what we see going on, including the pre-market game plan. We deliver these alerts in our private Twitter feed, and this is not a chat room by any means. So if you have a job, if you're interested in day trading futures, or if you want to swing trade futures, this is the way to go. You have an on the go on your phone. The signals are delivered on your phone. And also we are educating our traders for free in Bitcoin that is coming to the futures market very soon. And this is something that we have added to our service. If you're interested, you can visit our website. It is tradeoutloud.com. And it is under future signals. And also we have a transparent portfolio, which you can see right here. And these results are based on a one contract only, on a small account size of $5,000. So if you have a small account size, we had a live trade challenge for 2017. We have one more month to go, and our results have been phenomenal. So fourth quarter is not even yet here. We still have a month to go, and our portfolio at the end of the third quarter was up 193% for it. So we just closed a trade in gold today. It was phenomenal run in gold. So this is day trading and swing trading results right here for the month per contract. That is 3,632 and change. So visit our website, tradeoutloud.com, and if you're interested in our education as well, we do offer education as well for futures. We offer a class. It is Power Income Day Trading Futures. So thanks so much, guys, for having me here tonight, and I wish everyone a great rest of the night.
Thanks, Anka. Real quick, folks, if you're interested in what we do here at Top Gun Options, just head to topgunoptions.com. You can scroll down, and if you're a skier, this is kind of recognizable: beginner, intermediate, advanced. This is for my Marine buddies who don't know how to spell the word options. You guys can come in here all the way up to advanced. If you think you're good, we'll make you better. So we do live trade briefs 4 days a week. We send out text alerts when we're getting into a trade, getting out of a trade. And it's just it's good stuff. Like I said, it ain't rocket surgery, folks. And Steph alluded to this: the psychology of trading. As you can see on our logo there, discipline and risk management equals superior execution. I'll teach you that managing risk is. Here's a Yogi Berra-ism of the night to end with: you can't make money if you're losing money. So when you start with that premise, you'll be a very successful trader. So we always look at risk first and managing risk. You know, I never went flying over Iraq. You know, when the chief said, "Hey, Lieutenant Buckley, we don't have an ejection seat in your Hornet today. Is that okay?" So we're always looking for, you know, we're one hand on the ejection handle. And you know, if you trade like that, and you have a very good success rate, you're pleasantly surprised. But if you keep swinging for the fences and think you know, everything's going to be awesome, you're going to end up striking out more than that. So give us a try. Just stop by topgunoptions.com and you can do a 2-week test flight into our retirement account, our front month account, or weekly options. That's kind of the advanced one. So, all right, David, we went over by about 7 minutes, but we're good to go. I'm going to throw it back to you, my friend. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to coming back soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Great show. Just a reminder for everyone watching: be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube to get updates on future shows if you haven't yet. Also, be sure to join us next week. Crowd Forecast News was off this week, but it will be back next Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Analyze Your Trade. The next episode will be again on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can always get access to the live shows by going to TimingResearch.com/live. On the schedule for next week, a few of the people I have are Steve Lentz, Larry Gaines, Rob Hanna, Todd Mitchell, Dean Jenkins, and Anka will be back on Monday. So just want to thank all my guests again for this week: Mike Pisani of AlphaShark.com, Stefanie Kammerman of TheStockWhisperer.com, Anka Metcalf of TradeOutLoud.com, and Matthew Buckley of TopGunOptions.com. Thanks, everyone.
You bet, Dave. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.